But let's take a little closer look at the matchup right now. Brandon Noble, former NFL defensive player, going to call the action live for Sports USA Radio on the national feed. He joins me right now to preview the Eagles matchup with the Chiefs here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Brandon, how you been, man?
I'm doing well, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you back. As the Eagles and the Chiefs. It sounds like when I tell you, Brandon, you're going to call the game this weekend, it's going to be Eagles-Chiefs. I mean, do you look at that and say, man, these are two teams in different directions? When you look at these two franchises just on the surface, how do you kind of picture them? Because they're both 1-2 entering this match.
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. They're both – I think that when you look at the Chiefs, they're kind of in that spot where the sweet spot, right? You know, Super Bowls and winning championships and being one of the top teams in the league. And with some of the marquee players in the league, right? Guys that everybody knows, right? Mahomes is obviously probably, as close to the face of the NFL as one can get. On the other side of that, you look at the Eagles, a team that, was at the top, was the team, wins Super Bowl, and then just kind of fell apart afterwards. And so I think the Eagles are on and by bottom, I mean the low end of where they're going to be, right? They're really a year away from rebuilding, right? Like they need to get through this season and then start the rebuilding process with the players that kind of show up to play this year. And then the guys that they pick in the draft and some free agency and let Nick Sirianni kind of build his football team from the ground up. And then hopefully they get back to where they were. That's a daunting task in the NFL. Not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, Brandon, have you ever been – like the Eagles go out in week one and they look great, right? And everybody gets excited. Wow, new coach. Maybe they're better than we thought. And then the next 2 weeks you kind of come back to reality. Have you ever been on a team where that has kind of happened and, how does the team, when fans have expectations, media has expectations, but I would imagine that players, their expectations are different from what everybody else is because they always feel that they're good enough and they have a shot. So as a player, you see how well you played 1 week, and then you kind of come back to what the fans' reality was. You ever been on a team where that has kind of happened?
Well, unfortunately, yes. I have. Yeah. And I was on a lot of bad football teams in the NFL, unfortunately. But where I can kind of go with that is my first year in Dallas was 1999. And the Cowboys, they were coming off of all those great teams, and we still had Aikman and Irving and Emmitt Smith and kind of, the big three and some other really good pieces from those Super Bowl teams. And I want to say we went like 4-0, right? So we started the season really well. And then it just kind of trickled off, right? And it fell apart. And you kind of feel it. And really what happened from that point is kind of what's happened to the Eagles, right? Like you blow the roster up, you change coaches, you try and find a quarterback, and you try and rebuild the thing. And it took a few years. I was not there the next time they went to the playoffs. And it is tough because, like you said, like every time you walk out on the field as a player, right, whether it's Monday to kind of stretch out and get ready for the next week, or Wednesday when you go to practice, or Sunday as you run out of the tunnel, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You believe you're going to win that football game. That's the mindset that you have. And it's not a pretend one, right? I mean, it really is. Like, I go out there to win every game. The reality of it is, as the season goes on, you definitely can step back and go, boy, we're not very good. And it's going to be tough. But every time you go out on Sunday, you can win. The talent level in the NFL is such that it truly is any given Sunday. And that's why you see those surprise those oh my gosh, how did they beat those guys victories that happen in the NFL. But look, the Eagles could not have started in a better or worse way, right? To go and blow the Falcons out like they did and play the lights out and give – I live in Southeast PA. I'm out in kind of the western suburbs in Chester County. And, to give the fans that bit of hope that Eagles fans absolutely grab onto and run with, and then to lose to the Niners and then to lose to the Cowboys after that, I mean, that's soul-crushing for the area.
Yes, people were excited. You heard Jalen Hurts' jersey sales were up 500%. Not so much the last couple of weeks. That said, you talk about, the talent level and how close everything is. Brandon Noble's with us. He'll call the game nationally for Sports USA Radio. Brandon, you look at matchups, right? And the Eagles, now their offensive line is a mess right now. They've got 3 guys down, but the Chiefs cannot stop the run. So if you're Nick Sirianni, you called 3 run plays last week. Do you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, for us to win this game, I have to put this game in the lap of my guys up front?
Yeah, look, man, I'm an old nose guard, right? So like that was always my concern going into a game, that a team was going to run the ball on us. And I think as a defensive player, a defensive coach, that really is the thing that scares you the most, which may sound absurd in today's NFL. But if a team can run the football on you, I mean, look, we saw it on Monday night. The Cowboys absolutely dominated the Eagles at the line of scrimmage and knocked them backwards, and were able to run the ball at will. And I think that the Eagles need to do that. They need to at least try. You've got a really good back in Miles Sanders, right? You get Jason Kelsey still in there, right? The interior of the O-line, you got the rookie Landon, was it Dickerson, right? That's starting Dickerson in there now, right? So like he's not where he needs to be, but like that group is good, and they need to be able to take this Chiefs D-line and move them enough to give Miles Sanders some space. That does 2 things, right? It puts the defense on their heels. But the other thing is it gives Jalen Hurts a little bit of an opportunity to get comfortable in a game and not have to throw the ball a million times to try and win.
Brandon, obviously, the Chiefs have lost 2 games in a row. So is that a real thing? You've come in losing 2 when you have expectations. Is the focus level up? I mean, do you see a way that Andy Reid allows this Super Bowl contending team to go 1-3, knowing that the Raiders and the Chargers play on Monday night, and the Raiders could be 4-0 if they win that game. You almost can't be 1-3. So this is a pretty important game. Andy Reid knows that. So if you're the Eagles, are you in a really tough situation knowing that?
Oh, absolutely. Look, the Chiefs are going to come in here hot. Right? They're not playing up to their level of expectation, right, or who they believe they are. I'm sure that all week long, Andy Reid and that staff have let them know about it, right? Hey, look, we're not doing what we need to do on either side of the ball to win right now, And I do think that they will be refocused and a little bit more dialed in, I think, this week, because also, like you said, like the AFC West is ridiculous. Right? You look at the way the Chargers are playing, you look at the way the Raiders are playing. Look, they've got some pressure to get back to the top of the division. So I do think that this is a tough draw for the Eagles. I mean, it really is. You got a Super Bowl caliber team coming in, with 2 losses. Andy Reid coming back to kind of where it all started for him. It's definitely a tough draw, and they're going to have their hands full. But like you said, look, if the Chiefs don't kind of refocus and get after it, especially on defense, I think the defense has been really, really disappointing. The Eagles, if they play their cards right, again, we talked about it earlier, right? Anybody can win on Sunday. I mean, that is the truth.
Yeah, and we know that the Eagles obviously had a rough time defensively. Jonathan Gannon's team did not look good on Monday night against Dallas, and this is probably would you surmise, I don't know, I mean, Dallas has got a lot of weapons. Would you surmise that Kansas City's offense has more weapons and firepower than Dallas does?
Yeah, and they're yes, they're scarier in different ways, right? The thing that Dallas scares you with is they definitely have talent out on the edges. They've got some obviously Zeke runs the ball, and Dak back there, quarterback. But really, it's the O-line of the Cowboys that took that game over against the Eagles. And so I think that when you look at the Chiefs right now, you're dealing with a little bit different kind of attack. It may not be quite as smash mouth. It may be more spread out. Patrick Mahomes kind of dealing the ball around the field the way that he does. And they run the ball differently, right? It's not always between the tackles the way the Cowboys attack the Eagles, but it's usually out on the edges, a lot of misdirection, those kinds of things. So the defense is going to have its handful, but in a completely different manner than they did on Monday night. This is going to be know where everybody is, keep everybody in front of you, and make sure that you're tackling in bunches on Sunday.
All right, Brandon Noble, Sports USA will have the call. Eagles and Chiefs, and, of course, that is Sunday at 1 o'clock. Andy Reid is back. LaShawn McCoy, by the way, will be honored before the game, and Brandon was kind enough to break down and give us a little bit of insight on this matchup. Brandon, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, Mike, always good to talk to you, bud.
Yep, and Brandon, by the way, a Penn State guy. We'll have Penn State, Indiana, Saturday night right here on 97.3 ESPN.